It is 10 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. All 5 members are present. Item number 2 is opening prayer by Reverend Joe Keating of Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Munster. I believe he's hiding behind the pillar there. And following that, Commissioner Hollowell, will you lead us in pledges? Would everybody please rise?
Thank you, Judge. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Brothers and sisters, listen to a reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. These things I have spoken to you while I am still with you. But the Counselor, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he will teach you all things, and bring to your remembrance all that I have said to you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give it to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Let us pray. We stand before you, Holy Spirit, conscious of all our sinfulness, but aware that we gather in your name. Come to us, remain with us, and enlighten our hearts. Give us light and strength to know your will, to make it our own, and to live it in our lives. Guide us by your wisdom. Support us by your power, for you are God, sharing the glory of Father and Son. You desire justice for all. Enable us to uphold the rights of others. Do not allow us to be misled by ignorance or corrupted by fear or favor. Unite us to yourself in the bond of love and keep us faithful to all that is true. As we gather in your name, may we temper justice with love so that our decisions may be pleasing to you and earn the reward promised to good and faithful servants. You live and reign with the Father and the Son, one God, forever and ever. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item number 5 is public comments. I don't believe we had anybody sign up for the regular public comments. Item number 6 is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any items they wish to pull?
Need to pull D.
Which one?
D as in dog?
Yes.
Any other items?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda excluding D.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement to approve the consent excluding item D as in dog. Seconded by Commissioner Snuggs. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Item D is deliberate, consider possible action regarding payment of monthly bills. Commissioner?
There's a bill on here for Casey's Tires. I'm going to abstain from approving Casey Tire purchase since it's a conflict of interest on my part. So,
I make a motion we approve the payment to Casey's Tires.
You want to approve the other one first, and then we'll approve that one?
Oh, yeah. We need to do all of them and then
All
that
other
one.
bills?
Okay, I make a motion to approve all of the bills excluding Casey's Tires.
We have a motion by Commissioner Snuggs.
I thought Leon already made that one earlier.
No, we didn't approve the bills. We pulled the bills. John talked about it. Snuggs made the motion to approve the bills excluding the conflict, and I'll second that motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Now, I'll make the motion. We approve the payment to Casey's Tire.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Snuggs. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have one abstention, being Commissioner John Clement. That passes 4-0-1. All right, sorry, that was slightly more confusing than it needed to be. Item 7 is to open public hearing regarding replat of Westview Addition, Lot 10, located at 740 County Road 319 in Valley View. I believe we did have one individual that did sign up to speak. I believe that's Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall, if you wish to speak on this item, you may do so. You mind coming to the podium?
And this subdivision was part of the Westview addition on the east side and the west side of County Road 319. These properties were originally set up as 10-acre plots that could be claimed as agriculture. And I'm not sure what your plans are with the replat of properties, if that includes the east side as well as the west side. As far as my particular property is, I would wish to not have any changes done as far as survey boundaries or acreage. And anything, no changes to mine that's on the east side of 319 from the same subdivision that's listed on your paperwork I got in the mail from you. Okay?
Thank you, sir. And we'll address that in just 1 second. We did just have the one individual sign up, so it is 10:07, and we will close that public hearing. That public hearing was open at 10:05 for the minutes. Now, item number 9 is to deliberate and consider possible approval for replat of Westview Edition Lot 10, located at 740 County Road 319 in Valley View, Texas. Mr. Hall, I believe the request is to and we have the property owner here today, but the request is simply on that one lot to split it into 2 5-acre tracts. It doesn't affect any other part of that subdivision. So it's just that one, if I believe that's your request, if you don't mind. Can you address the court on what you're requesting?
Yes, sir. As far as what the plans were for it, sir, is I've always believed that, or I was always taught that land is you never make any more. And I got crushed by a car back in 2008, and it messed my leg up, and I can't keep up with the 7 acres. I wanted to keep the 3 with the house because we love the house. The folks that are intending on buying the 7 acres we're going to build there. And matter of fact, we left your court when we brought everything in. I told him about me liking the house and not going anywhere. He said, well, we're fixing to build out there too, and we're not going anywhere. So that's the purpose of me doing what I'd like to do.
And that is, and I was mistaken earlier, that is a 3-acre, it's a 10-acre tract of land, and we're dividing it, or we're being requested to divide it into a 3-acre tract and then approximately a 7-acre tract.
Yes, sir.
And that doesn't have any impact, we're not dividing or changing up anybody else's lots. But that shouldn't have any impact, that doesn't have any impact on the adjacent lots. It's only that one lot that's being impacted. If you've got an ag exemption on a separate lot, that has no impact on what is being requested. Do you know what your lot number is?
But he's on the east side.
Oh, you're on the other
On the
side.
east side of the road, so he doesn't border me.
Okay, so that's 2 separate, you got the.
I was thinking this gentleman was on the north side, right beside mine, because I've never met him before. The other
So-
2 people I've talked to didn't have a problem.
So there's 2 separate subdivisions there that are very similar in name. You got the notice because you live across the street from where, I believe, across the road from where this
Right.
individual is. So it doesn't impact your lot whatsoever. I understand, yeah. And which is why we're having this public hearing, everything, to help clarify exactly. It doesn't have any impact on your lot 10. That's a separate subdivision, so we're not dividing or touching your property. It would only be the adjacent, or across the road property that is being requested.
Thank you.
Any other questions by members of the court?
We talk about their restrictions.
Oh, that's the other,
That's
that's
the
the
other
next
one?
item.
I was thinking that was all the same.
No, it's,
Similar.
It's in the same neighborhood, but it's not right next, it's not this, this is a replat of Lot 10. If not, I'll make the motion, we approve the replat. Seconded by Commissioner Hollowell. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. All right, number 10 is deliberate, consider possible approval of final plat for Westview Farms, a proposed subdivision on County Road 319 in Precinct 3. This is part of the confusion because this is in that same general area, but it's a different tract of land. I believe we do have the developers here, but Commissioner John Clement may have had a question or two for them.
On the restrictions, item 25, it discusses driveway culverts and sizing to pass the 10-year storm. I know in the plans, it gives the culvert sizes, and I'm just curious what the 10-year versus 25-year, if there would be an impact. TxDOT and everything is usually set by 25-year flood. And so I just was wondering if you had any more information.
We designed it for the 100 on the, on all of our proposed lots. The restrictions are just to reinforce with your regulations as far as county go, and to help with some of the maintenance and things as they build their lots.
I really like the plan. It's very detailed. I like the fact that y'all have engineered the drainage and everything. I'm just concerned if they come back and say per a 10-year storm requirement, if a property owner would come up, say, you're stating in the plan that there's a 18-inch diameter pipe, but then they come in with a 15 because that would match the 10-year plan.
It's my understanding that they have to come and get a permit, correct?
Well, they come
In
to
order.
get a permit, but if you give them this,
Mhm.
and they're saying a 10-year, and because of the cost difference in a culvert,
Okay.
could we maybe change that to a 25-year?
Or just, what if you changed it to just say the sufficient size as laid out in the plat? That way they would
Okay.
have to, so
We can do
if y'all could update that and send a copy of
Okay.
it. But just instead of sufficient size to pass a 10-year plan, say sufficient size as presented in the, or as in the
Plan.
the plan, the
Development.
drainage plan with the plat, if that's
Yeah,
clear as mud.
We can change
Say
that.
that one more time real fast.
I think everybody knows what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to figure out a good way to word it in there. But basically tie it to what's in the 100-year flood plan and the culvert sizes that are in that drainage plan.
But on these, commissioners still gonna go out there and size them, right?
Yeah, you're still going to
So
size them.
You're
But
gonna do it in accordance with the commissioner's direction.
in accordance with that, so, I mean, or you can just strike that whole thing in accordance with county policies.
That's kind of what we were trying to do,
I mean, you
so we
can,
could do that.
you can basically just end it before, after it says Cooke County, the policies of
Okay.
Cooke County, period,
Okay,
and just take out the sufficient size capacity. That way you're not getting into 10, 25, and 100.
But I would leave it in the plan.
Oh, yes.
I like it
Yes.
that
Yes.
they've already done the hydraulics on it.
But what's going to happen from a practical standpoint is you're going to go back and refer to that, or they're going to refer to that. That's still going to be that's under our policies to go by that. But that way you don't get into potential conflict.
And commissioners can still dictate the size.
Yeah.
Well, the size is already called out.
Size is actually in the, but I mean, if,
So there shouldn't be, why wouldn't you just say you refer back to the,
well, I mean, you can, but you can just, in accordance with the policies of Cook County, period, and just be over, or, I'm fine either way, but
Well, as I said, this has been one of the best plans I've seen as far as having the drainage and everything called out. So I would like to see further, plans like this in the future.
So
That's
how-
all I have.
thank you.
do you want to modify that with ending after what the policies of Cook County, period, or do you want to say with the policies of Cook County as referred?
I like what you said the first time, but you can say it again.
And be sufficient size as presented in the development plans.
In the-
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you make that change? And get that before it gets filed. Anything else, Commissioner?
That's all that I had.
You want to make a motion to approve?
Make a motion that we approve the plat.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner John Clement, second by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 11 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding deferral of 6.2% Social Security payroll tax. Elizabeth?
Okay. A presidential memorandum was issued to defer the withholding of the employee portion of the 6.2% Social Security tax. This tax would be deferred through December 31st of this year, and it's only a deferral. A repayment would begin on January 1st, 2021, with the deferral being due by April 30th, 2021. This would apply to anyone making less than $4,000 biweekly. The notice does not directly state whether the payroll tax deferral is optional for employers. However, based on the authority on which the guidance relies, it appears the employers can choose whether to implement the deferral. There are currently no penalties for not implementing the deferral. While this would be nice for the employee to have a larger paycheck through December, it will be equally as disappointing for the employee when 12.4% is deducted from their paycheck to repay the deferral next year. Also, the county would be responsible for collecting the deferral from the employee for repayment. If an employee leaves employment, the county would be required to repay whatever amount could not be collected from the exiting employee. So this is something we wanted to bring before court to make the decision on whether to do this deferral or not. But in closing, I'm not in favor of the deferral, as I don't see it to be a great benefit to our employees or the county.
I make the motion that we don't. Second it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell, second by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 12 is deliberate and consider possible approval of tax cybersecurity course enrollment.
I didn't hear what the motion was.
We're going to deny the deferral.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the masks make it a little hard.
We have to do this cybersecurity course more than once.
You got to do it yearly, I believe, annually, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. It's an annual
And this
training
is at
required.
no cost? Is that the?
Correct. No cost to the county if we use TAC.
Is that the calendar year or year from the time?
That's a good question.
That they, I think everybody's taking it now, right, pretty much?
Everybody has taken it as of last June. So now they start over in September, and it has to be taken again by mid-June.
What's in fiscal year?
It's weird, it's not even either, it runs June to June.
It has to be done by next June, you said?
By next June. So, I mean, we could choose to,
You can go
Just-
ahead and do it now and be done, even though you've only done it, it may have done it June 1st, you've only done it 4 months apart.
right. Or we could
TAC
wait-
sent out an email this morning about free cybersecurity training email. They sent out an email this morning.
And that's what this is. We're just choosing to set that up again for this next year. That allows the employees to start doing it now.
Right.
We don't have a choice, so moved.
Well, I mean, it's free, yeah. And we have to have it anyway.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement, second by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
You'll let us know when that's queued up, ready?
I will. I'll send you an
Send an
email
out
out to
email.
everyone to let everyone know.
Item 13 is to deliberate and consider possible action regarding compensation of time or pay for county employees working elections. As everybody knows, we actually have early voting going on right now for a special election. Then you've got the November election with the extra week of early voting, and then you potentially have more elections. Shelley, can you talk about what we've done in the past on this? I know both the both the tag office and the clerk's office and security would all be impacted by this.
Well, back in the day when Billie Jean was here, she used to do all of the voter registrations herself, so there was really no overtime comp time in the tax office. So it was, the question I don't think ever came up. And then in the county clerk's office, Pam used to do all the work when Becca was here. And I think Pam used to get comp time, I think, yeah. And so fast forward and things have changed. And so the tax office had several employees work, and Pam and her group worked several hours overtime, and then courthouse security worked. So collectively, we just paid everybody out and charged it to elections, including voter registration, which we assumed the parties would pay for incorrectly, especially during the primary, and so that needs to be addressed separately. So we've been paying everybody instead of giving them comp time. So because then you get a true cost of how much your elections are costing you. Because if you give comp time and people take the time off, or you get to the end of the fiscal year and you pay everybody out, then that gets charged to the department instead of the elections, and you really don't know how much your elections cost you.
So Brandy, what are you requesting?
So we also have local elections in May that we have to work, which that's combined this year in the general. It was my understanding that they only pay for the primaries, but what about the general and the local elections that we work?
Well, the parties don't pay for voter registrations at all.
At all.
So that's why I said that
So we're responsible for
voter registration.
voter registration
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah.
I took a survey on listserv, and it's really half and half. Some pay, some give them comp, some let their employees choose on what they want.
So let me walk down a scenario here. So we've got an election going on now, and if we give them comp time, Elizabeth, would they have to use that comp time? But if we give them comp time for something that's going on in the next 2 weeks, would they? So they don't have time to use it, essentially. Because the election's the 29th. I mean, you can't. And then we got the November election, which I have 3 weeks of early voting. Then we potentially have at least one more potential runoff for the election happening now, which doesn't look like it's happening on November 3rd. It'll be a special in sometime after that.
So what I figured up was if we were to work, plus you get your time and a half, for September they're going to get 19 and a half hours, for November 42 hours, and then we have December possibly.
Shelley, can we use any, because of the extended hours on this, can we use any of the COVID funds, the CARES Act funds, to pay for some of this? Because that was in the governor's declaration of this special election, was because of COVID.
Isn't that a moving target? The governor's declaration?
Well, maybe, but the declaration for the special election, it actually references part of the reason for it is because of COVID.
Brandy, can y'all work other than normal hours? You hold the whole staff over, or you just hold one or two of them?
It just depends. With this general election coming up, it would probably be the whole staff possibly, because if it's anything like 2,000.
Require that kind of manpower?
I'm sorry?
They have that many issues that they would require that kind of manpower?
It's not just about the election part. It's our phones are ringing, people trying to figure out where they go, what we need to do. So if I'm busy on the phone with this person and we have 2 other phones ringing, I need other people to be able to answer those phones.
Hey, Gary, can you twist your mic around? They can't hear you on the live stream.
Like this September election, I limited them as to who's going to stay over, like 2 per night with me, just in case the phones. Whenever we have our general election, that's a week long of early voting. It's usually from 8 to 5, but we have our Saturday election. I mean, it's a Saturday election, so I have to have other people there for, if somebody has to step out or anything.
But if we could limit that number to a couple, it might
delay the phones a little bit, but it might reduce the cost. But if we go in and we give that whole staff comp time, and then they're gonna have to take off, then your
Right.
regular duty hours, you're not gonna have that in the staff, right?
Right. No, the girls would like to have the comp time. I'm requesting this year for sure to have pay because I'm not gonna be able to let everybody off if they have that comp
I
time.
think we support her, pay them.
I think
And then we'll
that's-
know what it costs us to have the election and go
Well,
tell the girls to be
Given
upset
the
with us,
amount
we're
of
bad guys.
given the amount of extra,
Yeah.
a whole nother week of early voting, then you may have a whole nother election.
Right.
And I try to hold it where you don't hold the whole staff
Yeah.
over every night.
No,
for
yeah, I
2
have a-
hours. I mean,
right.
that's a bunch of money, so we don't need to be supplementing somebody's income by giving them overtime and them sitting there idle doing nothing. So,
Pam, what's your thought?
Well, I'm kind of the same way. Of course, this is an unusual election. I agree. They're going to have to get paid for this election. I would love to see, though, when it gets back to normal elections, since we get paid for the primary, of course, we'd have to pay my staff for central count on election night. But I would love to see comp time on a normal year for the general election, just to give them a little bit of comp instead of pay. But that's what my staff would like. But if that doesn't happen, of course, we can
but
live with
also
it.
puts additional workload on HR and payroll
Yeah.
and things of that nature. It's another burden.
Right.
I mean, it
Yeah.
helps one
Yeah, I've
group
talked to Elizabeth,
and
and it
hurts
is
another group,
confusing, 'cause-
And
Right.
so,
They don't even know primary with general,
and we don't have any idea what it's costing us. And
Right.
then-
I just thought I'd let you know what my
and
staff
if
would like, but
everybody's
we'll,
adequately staffed now,
We'll
and
do what we have
three or
to do.
four of them take off on comp the same day, then somebody's
Right.
fussing because they didn't get their cars registered in time. So they can either wait in line there, or they can wait in line on the phone when they trying to verify where they needed to go vote. So,
Other thoughts?
So will this be, if y'all decide, is this gonna be paid for every election?
I think we address it now through the end of the year because there's likely to be 3 or 4 elections between now and the end of the year, and then readdress it next year as far as, because,
let's see, I think we've already changed it back and forth.
We've
2 or
gone
3
back and
times,
forth.
So I
Right.
think that,
and maybe we need to sit down and come up with a policy, but this year is completely crazy just because there's multiple factors. I mean, you've got extended hours because of COVID, and then you've got a special election that we've never really had to deal with before anyway, all being pushed into a very abbreviated timeline.
We can't base a policy on a crazy year.
Yeah. So going forward, it'd be lovely to have a policy and maybe figure out something, but we can't do that.
Or we
based
could
on-
just decide to get an EA and help everything out.
Well,
I can't hear you, do I? I noticed you pulled that up so it was muffled when I,
but it's okay. Well, yeah.
I thought she did a good job working it in there at the end of her pitch.
Yeah, we
I thought
understand.
that was going to be the lead-in to the pitch, in all honesty.
an exercise administrator? She didn't clarify.
And that also applies to security. So Terry, you got any thoughts on any of that? Your guys be paid versus comp? Well, yeah, no, it's elections related, it's not. Yep. So with that, I'll make a motion, we pay the county employees working the elections. Second by Commissioner John
You want
Clement.
to put a time limit on it? I mean, like.
Through
to
the end of the year,
end of
yeah,
the
I
year?
think that should cover some of them.
I would add that to it.
So we have a motion and a second by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Item number 14 is deliberate, consider possible action regarding participation in political subdivision workers' compensation alliance. I believe we have to make this determination every year, and I believe every year we turn it down.
That is correct.
But since you're already there, go ahead and tell us.
Well, since I'm here, I recommend we turn it down again. It just limits the number of doctors our employees are able to see and the distances they have to drive to see a doctor.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner
Turn it
Leon
down.
Clement to turn it down, seconded, somebody second that? I did. Seconded by Commissioner Holloway. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. 0.
Unless you want to talk about it some more.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Item number 15 is deliberate and consider possible approval of various local nonprofits setting up and using courthouse grounds for North Texas Giving Day on Thursday, September 17th. And we do have an individual here to speak. And just
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm Susie Holloman, and I'm the president and founder of Gary Foster Foundations. We are a foster home community that's being built here in North Texas. And I'm here representing several nonprofits that are participating in North Texas Giving Day. I have several more of these, but it's this Thursday, and it's one day of concentrated giving for all the nonprofits that are participating in this event. It does raise considerable amount of funds. As we all know, this year's been challenging for everyone, much less nonprofits. So we would like to be able to set up, I have 6 nonprofits, possibly 7 or 8, that would like to set up a couple of tables, tent. We have just a couple of props. We have some signs. We wouldn't, reach out to anybody, but we're looking to set up somewhere in front of the courthouse or off of the lawn or somewhere that's kind of a visual spot for us to be. We will be, it's Gary Foster Foundations. We have Wishes, Wonders, and Kids. We have Hershey's Champion Buyers Club, Boys and Girls Club, Dream to Become, which is a horse therapy, and we have NCTC, and we have an organization called Change the Face of Fostering, and we have Abigail's Arms that are considering also joining us. So we would like to set up on the courtyard with our tables, our tent, just our signs. We wouldn't approach anybody, maybe hand out some information about our organizations and what we're doing. And we have a mascot from Gary Foster Foundations, which is actually a life-size cardboard cutout of me. The Dream to Become has a miniature horse. I know that's pushing it. And other than that, we would have the North Texas Giving Day signs, and we would just have some information about our organizations. So we're just wanting to have a visual, get everybody on board. It ends at midnight on the 17th, and so it's just a final push to get everybody online and to donate, and it's through the Community Foundation of Texas that puts this on. And by midnight, like for instance, Gary Foster Foundations, we have a $15,000 grant, matching grant. And so we're trying to meet that goal, and it gets people motivated in this one-day concentration of giving. So it's a good thing to do, and it's, like I said, it's been a challenge this year to get, fundraising for nonprofits in general.
So just to reiterate, it goes till midnight, but you guys are not going to be out there. Okay.
No, we're thinking probably, before lunch and be set up, and then just kind of play it by ear. Probably there won't be a whole lot of foot traffic, regardless nowadays anyhow, but past 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. So that would be a day with representatives out there.
Are we talking about on the lawn or on the concrete?
Well, that was what I think the discussion that I would suggest the concrete area, not necessarily the lawn.
Right.
But we've got a concrete area in front of these steps here that we're not
Okay.
using that entrance now anyway.
Okay.
That would be a spot that can be set up. I'm assuming I'm speaking for everybody else when I'm going to say I don't think so on the miniature horse.
Do what? I'm sorry.
No on the miniature horse.
I know, that was pushing it. I said, I'll ask. Cardboard Susie, she just stands there.
But, a tent and tables and a cardboard Susie, I think is just try to stay off the grass.
Okay.
I think is the key.
Is this an area where they can approach the
And
table?
a lot of
and-
people, yeah,
Okay.
you can set up, it's just these stairs right out here, just
Okay.
south of those stairs, or not south, it's just east of those stairs.
Okay.
There's an entire concrete area. It's
Awesome.
pretty visual from.
Accessible for.
And accessible.
I think with the early voting, there'll be a lot more foot traffic than you would think, too.
And there'll be quite a bit. That's, early voting will be going on over here. So
Oh,
actually,
that would be awesome. Good deal. Yeah.
Just make sure
So-
not to put any campaign signs out, because that may be within the 100,
No, you can't do that.
the 100 feet. But if you got any questions, you can coordinate with me, and I'll make sure maintenance
All right.
is there to help on anything. But that is this Thursday. I'll make a motion, we approve with those limitations.
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Item number 16 is deliberation regarding status and future needs of new CPS court and consider any possible action regarding the same. I don't know if Ricky's in here. I don't think he is. I don't necessarily have anything new. I know the carpet still has to be done, but it's trying to get done in and out of all the early voting going on, and it's not going to be done for the next 2 weeks. And then it may not even be done. And what's the timetable? How many weeks off you got before you're back over there, Pam?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. So I think that's the last big thing, is getting that carpet installed. I know he's got a guy, but it's just making the schedules all work. Anybody else have anything else on number 16? If not, 16 will be no action. Item 17 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding various grant funds, the first one being the 2015 FEMA flood. Anything new on? Hearing nothing. The 2020 COVID-19 FEMA grant, we have anything new on that? If not, item C is CARES Act funding. I know Shelley's got a little bit on that if you want to talk to it.
I attended a webinar where I found out that per the Treasury rules, the salaries of the emergency management, the EMS, and law enforcement could be expensed under CARES funding. As of, from March 1st through December 30. But as of August the 20, I gotta find my note, August the 20 something, 28th maybe, they have since tightened a little bit on the law enforcement to people who actually deal with securing COVID. So like an admin person at the front office of the sheriff's office that doesn't deal with securing inmates from catching COVID might not necessarily qualify as a candidate. So I'm asking for the court to put in the minutes to direct that the salaries of those offices be designated so I can put them under the CARES funding and count them as expenses.
So to the extent allowable by the.
Exactly. And the Treasury regulations state from March 1st.
So law enforcement stuff would be, early on, we did have, before we hired part-timers, we did have some law enforcement that was handling the courthouse security, that was handling the entrance. That would probably be COVID-related? Question mark? Okay.
Well, it just says the CARES Act provides payment made from the fund may be used to cover costs due to the public health emergency from March 1st and that cover the salaries of public health, public safety, the payroll expenses for public safety, public health, healthcare, human services, and similar employees whose services are substantially dedicated to mitigating or responding to COVID-19 public health emergency.
Okay.
They check temperatures for what, a month?
Yeah, for a month or so there, so that should suffice. The governor's got his little 75-25 restriction on that. Does that fit on, I think that fits on the 75%, does it not?
Yes.
And so that's, and I don't have that breakdown in front of me, but the governor's restrictions on top of what the federal government put on there basically say that 75% of your expenditures have to be in one of three categories.
Medical expenses, public health expenses, payroll expenses for public health and safety, expenses for actions to facilitate compliance, expenses associated with the provision of economic support, and any other COVID-19 related expenses. That's the six.
That's the six. The first three have to be on that 75%. And
Right.
the second three are the 25, only 25% of the COVID or the CARES Act funding that we receive from the state can be spent on that.
So number three is all payroll expenses
Yeah.
for public health, safety, public health, healthcare, human services. And number three is the Treasury guidelines.
And I know we've got a couple of schools have reached out to me this past week. Apparently TEA is telling them to go to the counties to ask for CARES funding.
Yes, and they are sending out a brochure to the schools with that language.
And that comes out of the 25%, I believe.
That comes out of our, yes.
And so I don't know if we have the actual breakdown on how we sit on CARES funding, CARES Act funding expenditures to date, but those requests, I've gotten some schools that are asking for that because then I think TEA turns around and then matches that, whatever they get at the county level, to help offset cost of, I think it's distance learning and things like that.
District A receives no match from local funds, then they only get what local education gives them. If the district receives 10% from Corona funds, then they get what the local education gives them plus the 10%. But if the district gives them, if the coronavirus gives them 25% match, then the local education agency gives them the match also.
And I don't know where we're at breakdown wise on how much how much of that 25 we have to spend or to send to the schools, but those requests are coming in, and I believe that is due by the end of the month.
And so if by adding the salaries in,
It's gonna help.
it's going to make it,
It's gonna have more available funds.
yes.
That we can work with the schools if that's what we want to do.
We talking $100 or $5,000?
I don't know what's I hadn't talked any dollar amounts to schools. They're just simply being told by TEA, hey, go to your counties,
And we'll give them money.
and we'll give them money.
But we can only give them up to 25% of what we spent.
We can only give them 25% of what we spend. So the 75% is the first three things that she listed off earlier. But the 25% is the reason why we're handcuffed on doing any type of economic stuff for small businesses and stuff,
Yeah.
because it's a broader category, but for rural counties, it's harder to meet that. than it is for, well, large counties didn't have any restrictions.
So if we spent $100,000, we'd have 25,000, if I'm understanding this correctly, and then that would be divvied up between all the schools?
Yes.
Or,
Yeah.
However-
Or however, it could be expended on those three.
and then when you say their local education, what is, see, I need,
I'm assuming that's the state.
I don't know.
It just says local education agency.
Does that double their money, or does that,
I think if you hit, if 25% of their funds is local, it increases the amount of money they're getting. But I don't know what those dollar thresholds are. I don't know if we're talking $1,000 or $10,000 or what.
I don't know how they get their money, so I don't know.
and
how
then
that works.
we'll be audited for that for the next 10 years, I assume?
Yes.
But I'd had a couple schools that said, hey, we're being told to do this, what's the county's thoughts on it? And my response so far is, I don't know how our 75-25 breakdown is, so I don't know how much potential available money is there.
So when we get to that point, if and when we get to that point, there's enough money to,
But they have to know this by the end of the month.
I know, but are we going to
That's my question.
contact them all, or are we going to only give money if there's a lot of ifs here? It's kind of like the election coming up, there's a lot of ifs here. If, are we going to contact them all and split it even, or are we going
Well,
to?
and I think that's the conversation I wanted to have before I start stepping out and having a broader conversation with the schools is, do we say, okay, we may potentially have money and we'll try to divide it as fairly as possible, however you wanted to define that. But I don't know how much money we're talking about yet. We may have a better idea after today.
I got finished mostly with EMS on Friday. I've got to where I can get the PPE for the elections pulled out and for the match for that, and then the rest will be what we've spent. And then the good thing with the payroll is all I have to do is put the amounts in, and all I have to do for backup is the payroll processing.
So that'll help raise that money, because I think before payroll, we weren't looking at having a whole lot of, a few $100 or a couple $1,000 is not gonna change.
You're talking about salaries for EMS and law enforcement for their whole staffs?
And
And Ray.
And Ray.
And they for
So
their whole
law
staff?
enforcement, I
Yes.
think, has got some stipulation, but it could,
Up until August, it was all the jail, all law enforcement.
That's gonna drive that number up significantly.
it could, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It may make a lot more funds available.
Well, it's not all of their salaries, you're not
Yes.
talking, every,
That's what I mean.
Every bit.
they don't, I thought it had to be COVID related.
In August, they changed
They
it.
changed so,
But from March 1st through August, it's all
All of
every,
the salary that we paid those
yes,
folks.
so we can get higher on expenditures pretty
Yes.
quick,
yes.
going over that 6 months or 3 months, or however, so.
Several.
Yeah, March, April, May, June, July, 5 or 6 months.
Be a bunch of money.
There's money there that then we could turn around. But I know the schools have a tight table, but I'm kind of planning on maybe setting up a conference call with them, the superintendents later this week and seeing where they're at, what they need. But we need to figure out a good way to address that. But I need to know how much potential dollar amount we have. It sounds like we may have significantly more than if we didn't have salaries in there.
But we're gonna have to front that and wait on them to pay us back?
No, we get that money from the state, so we would have, we're gonna have to wait on the state to, it's a
Yeah.
front and wait. But I think they just need by the end of the month, they need they don't need the money by the end of the month, but they need to know whether we will match the money by the end of the month. You see what I'm saying?
We need to know what that number is.
But we need to know
and
what that number
timeline is for getting reimbursed.
Yeah.
This is,
It's
it
4 or
6
5 years
months,
getting
or is it-
reimbursed.
or is it-
Well, we have to put it into gyms, and Cone Resnick has to,
Oh, it's not Cone Resnick, is it?
yes.
so, by 2028, we may have the money, but
Oh, yeah, you better, they're gonna change the rules before you get it done.
well, they're threatening to change the rules all the time on it. But as far as the schools are concerned, what's the court's thought on that? I mean, I'd hate to leave money on the table for them if we can and leave money on the table, because we have to expend all these funds by the end of the year still.
Yeah, by December 30.
Um,
They didn't make it the 31st,
They made it the 30th.
Well, and what's gonna be tough, it's gonna, because the sizes of the schools differ,
Yeah.
how are you gonna do it? I
You'll
hate
have
this
to-
word fairly, because there ain't nothing fair, but, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So
You
we're
would
gonna
have
have to come up with some kind of formula based on.
Kind of breakdown on number of kids, I mean, almost what you're gonna have to do.
But I would surely let everyone know that this is going on. I wouldn't.
Well,
And every school to, offer every school the opportunity to participate.
Yeah, and I think I can get a conference call together pretty quick with the superintendents and walk through it with them. And I know they meet fairly regularly or are in touch fairly regularly anyway with each other to get their input on how much they need and don't need and how they plan on meeting this. But I wanted to
Ask
at
them
least.
how they think they wanna split it
Yeah,
up.
yeah, or tell them to come up with
Yeah.
here, y'all come up with a fair way to split that, whatever that pie is. Might be the easiest way, because they know how that's dictated better than we do.
You may know how it affects their
Yeah.
other incomes.
Yeah,
Has any school gotten any of this money yet
I don't,
that we know of? Not in
Not
this
from
county,
us,
but.
I hadn't, yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Has this
I
been,
think this was just made available within the past few weeks anyway, or just, it's a pretty short turnaround
yeah.
with schools just recently opening. So I know this is a pretty tight turn for them anyway, and so they need to know an answer by the end of the month, which is very tight as well.
And if they choose not to participate, we'd like that in writing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And thus, we don't wanna play.
yeah.
I think there ought to be a face-to-face meeting of all you folks.
Yeah, we can get something expedited.
I wouldn't try to run this by an email or a phone call. It's too complicated.
I can get that set up and moving if that's,
I'm like, time is of the essence.
yeah, time is of the essence
Yeah.
on it, but, and if we have to have a special meeting to dictate how that money is, so they get in with their grants in time, we can always have that called, but we do need action today for what Shelley was wanting.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell, second by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item D on that is public safety COVID grants. I haven't seen anything on that.
I emailed TCOG late Friday afternoon, and
Yeah.
I haven't heard back anything yet.
I think I had an email with Stephanie at one point a week or two ago, and they said they hadn't heard anything. So that just kind of phantomly
Well,
disappeared.
I think I copied you.
Yeah, that may have been it, but I saw,
and haven't had an answer yet.
so we'll see.
If anything, if we have any, I'll put it under CARES.
Yeah.
Nervous.
Item E is CTIF road grants. Updates?
Haven't started.
And then item F is HAVA elections grants. I think all that's been expended. Do we need to take that off the agenda, or we want to leave it on?
I got my email Thursday to sign up to submit the expenses.
Do we want to leave that on for another quarter?
Yeah,
two,
let's
just
leave
in
it on
case?
there. So if I can get those pulled out, then I can submit it all and hopefully be finished with that one.
Good.
But leave it on there for one more quarter, please.
Okay. Item 18 is executive sessions in compliance with Texas Open Meetings Act 551 of the Government Code, and we have personnel consult with attorney, real property, and deliberation regarding security devices or audits. It is 10:55, and we will recess and go.
I'd make a suggestion to make a couple of people happy. Let's sign
Let's
off
sign
on
those and
forms
get
them
that done,
to them
yeah.
So they don't have to hang out.
Yep, fine by me. go. All right, so we are back. We are supposed to be. It is 12:31. We reconvene into regular session. Item number 19 is deliberate and consider possible action on public health emergency declaration for COVID-19. I don't have anything new on this. Item number 20 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding security devices and security audits. I believe we have anything new on that. 21 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding updating Commissioners Court rules of procedure, conduct, decorum, at Commissioners Court meetings. We did last year update this a little bit. I want to kind of clean up some of that language on here, and the main thing being, and it's kind of what's being seen in other counties, the law last year allowed for each person that wishes to speak on an agenda item to be allowed to speak. We've been doing that for some of the bigger topics we had, but this is just inserting the line in there saying that each member of the public that has signed up to speak regarding an item on the agenda will be allowed to do so. It's simply just adding that in there for any clarification. Also suggest making the change of saying that public participation is for agenda items only.
But you say public comments. Or
Public participation, it's worded as public participation. But yeah, our public comments is for agenda items only.
Motion, you're gonna make it, or?
I'll make that motion. Got a second by Commissioner Hollowell. Any further discussion on that? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
Are we on? 'Cause,
I think we are, that's just not plugged in, right, unless we are on, right? Okay. Oh, the battery's going down on the, item 22 is deliberate and consider possible items on personnel matters. I don't have anything new unless anybody else does. Item 23 is deliberate and consider possible action on purchase of real estate. We do have a closing on the vacant lots set for, I believe, later this week.
Good. I was going to ask.
Just an update on that. Nothing else has changed, but that is supposed to happen later this week. But other than that, I don't have anything on real property. 24, future agenda items. Anybody going once? Item 25 is to adjourn.
Future agenda items, let's make sure that, deal with the COVID money for schools.
Yeah, we may even have to, because of the timing, have a special meeting next week for that, but.
Make sure it's on the agenda again.
Yeah, I'll make sure that we'll discuss that. I'm gonna try to set up a meeting as soon as possible.
I'd let that on there till we're.
Anything else?
John.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell,
Second.
second by Commissioner John Clement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.